figure you out. If I can have you now, then easy's what I'm about. Do I want you or do I want the commitment?
Hello guys, so today I, Sabrina BINTI RAFIX with the ID number of SEC 2007-1701 will be sharing with you guys some intercultural communication in the movie Mr. Bean's Holiday. So let's get on to it. Before we start, let me brief you about this movie. Mr. Bean is going on a holiday in the south of France looking for a quiet and sunny trip in Riviera. However, his trip doesn't go as smoothly as he expected when he has to face a series of misunderstandings and totally unfortunate coincidences. Eventually, Mr. Bean will end up spoiling the last film of the snobbish director, Carson Clay, by appearing by accident at the Cannes Film Festival. According to Sullivan 2017, she mentioned that silence can mean different things to different people and in different situations. So some may be positive, some may be negative, and many are neutral. So the unpleasant nature of such silences is associated with feelings of anxiety as the participants feel pressure to speak but are unsure what to say next. In this scene, it can be seen that Mr. Bean tried to communicate with the woman to earn some loose changes. He then attempted to speak French but failed as the only thing that came out from his mouth was only gibberish, and due to the weird gestures and sounds coming from him, the woman felt uncomfortable and she remained silent and left him all alone. Silence here used by the woman means rejection and uncomfortable as she was unsure what to do or say to him.
Wait. No.
Basically, illustrators mean gestures that go along with and refer to speech. Illustrated gestures are what some people may refer to informally as talking with your hands, as they illustrate what we are saying. According to Matsumoto 2013, he stated that cultures might have different forms of using speech illustrators like waving versus pointing, but all cultures use them for the same purpose to assist in communication. In this scene, Mr. Bean tried to communicate with a passerby to ask for directions. However, he could not speak French, which led him to gesture both of his hands as train and even made a train sound so that the passerby could understand that he was trying to illustrate Gare du Nord Railway. However, the passerby had no idea what Bean trying to say, so he ignored him. Emblem is a term that describes gestures that have very precise meanings known within an ethnic, cultural, or subcultural group. So according to Matsumoto 2013, in his book he wrote, every culture develops its own emblem vocabulary through gestures, just as it does with its own verbal language. So emblems have various forms of cross cultures, even when their meaning and function are similar. In this scene that I have shown you guys, Mr. Bean did an emblem in French that is called the lisure, where he kissed the joint tips of his fingers and joyfully spread them outwards. This gesture is sometimes referred as the Italian chef kiss, and this gesture is also popular in French, although it's a bit cliche. This gesture is used when the French host is serving you delicious foods, or in Mr. Bean's case, to not offend the waiter and to pretend that the food was great. The waiter thought Mr. Bean had enjoyed the seafood platter due to the gesture that he made.
Puis-je recommander le plateau de fruits de mer? Oui? Oui. Plateau de fruits de mer.
Language differences are an obvious barrier to intercultural communication, because if you can speak English and the other person doesn't, that person will not understand what you are trying to convey, and both of you can't communicate verbally. So according to his 2017, she mentions that language barrier limits the capability of individual to learn from their environment due to the lack of comprehension and ability to communicate. So during travel, it can also weaken the cultural experience. So based on the scene that I've shown you guys, Mr. Bean was unable to speak with the waiter in French and misunderstand his suggestions, and he accidentally orders oysters and langoustines, which he later then hesitated to eat it. So it can be clearly seen that the language barrier exists, as Mr. Bean only speaks English and the waiter speaks French, and both of them could not communicate verbally clearly, and leads to this misunderstanding. To sum up everything that has been stated, let me recap a few terms that I have shared with you guys. So for the first term is silence, and silence is usually considered as a sign of rejection. And for example, there are many silent moments in a conversation which is awkward, just as it can be seen in the first clip, as the woman was not comfortable with Mr. Bean's actions. For the second term is get emblems, which means gestures that has a specific verbal translation, as it can be seen in clip number 2. Mr. Bean did the delicious emblem, which means he described the food as delicious. For the third term is illustrators, which means gestures that goes along with and refer to a speech. So in the third clip, it can be seen that Mr. Bean was trying to mimic a train, and he gestured his hand, both of his hand, on the side to illustrate a train. So in the last thing is language issue. So it can be seen that language can sometimes lead to intercultural conflict, and can also be the primary vehicle to solving it. So in this last scene that I've shown you guys, it can be seen that Mr. Bean was shocked what he had ordered, even though he had no idea, as he could not speak French, and the misunderstanding was created. Hope that you guys get a clear view of some of the intercultural communication that occurs in the Mr. Bean's Holidays movie. So I think that is all from me. Thank you and have a nice day.
But if I can have you now, then easy is what I